The Roman army is widely regarded as one of history's most powerful and successful military forces, with its ability to conquer vast territories and maintain the empire for centuries. But despite its greatness, a surprising fact remains. No other army ever managed to completely copy the Romans. Why is it that, even with so much power, other empires and armies failed to replicate the Roman military model? In this video, we will explore 10 reasons that made the Roman army truly incomparable. First, intensive training and professionalization. From the earliest days of the Roman Republic, the army was far more than just a group of armed men. It was a meticulously trained force that operated with a precision that other armies simply could not replicate. In the beginning, Roman soldiers were conscripts, called to fight only in times of need without specialized training. But as Rome grew, so did the need for better prepared and more disciplined soldiers. It was then that the Romans began to transform their army into a professional force, serving for about 25 years. The training became intense, not only focusing on physical endurance but also on specific combat skills, such as military tactics, unit maneuvers, and even siege engineering. It was a long and rigorous preparation that made each soldier a fundamental part of the Roman army. Roman soldiers learned how to operate complex siege machines, like catapults and battering rams, and they mastered techniques for building fortifications and roads, which allowed the army to fight on any terrain and in any climate. This was not something any army could easily imitate, as it required resources and time, something many armies could not sustain. Second, rigorous discipline. Discipline in the Roman army was one of its strongest pillars. This discipline was maintained through a system of rewards and punishments that kept all men under control, while simultaneously motivating them to be better. A soldier who distinguished himself in combat or in his duties could be rewarded with prizes, honors, or even promotions. But a small mistake, a failure to follow orders, could result in severe punishments, ranging from the loss of privileges to physical chastisement. This strict approach not only ensured that the army functioned cohesively but also created a bond of strength and character among the soldiers. They knew that the success of a battle depended on each one of them, and that their lives, and the lives of their comrades, depended on the precision of their actions. Third, a flexible structure and organization. The true strength of the Roman army lay in its unique structure, which allowed for coordinated actions even with different units operating independently. Rome adapted its forces according to the circumstances. The Roman legion, composed of about 5,000 men, was the backbone of the army. But within these legions, there were different types of units, each with a specific function, from the heavy infantry that excelled in close-quarters combat, to cavalry units that were essential for flanking the enemy and carrying out swift attacks. This allowed the army to adapt quickly, depending on the terrain or the type of battle being fought. Furthermore, each legion was accompanied by auxiliary troops, recruited from allies or conquered peoples, who brought specific combat skills. The Romans knew that a diversity of skills could be the key to winning battles in difficult terrains and conditions. This meant that even when the Roman army faced enemies with unusual tactics or complicated terrain, it had the ability to adapt and respond effectively. This flexibility was one of the reasons why the Roman army could conquer such a vast empire. It was like a great clock, where each part, even while working separately, contributed to the perfect functioning of the whole. Fourth, superior logistics. To sustain its prolonged campaigns, Rome built a network of roads that allowed for the rapid movement of troops and supplies throughout the empire. This ensured that even on long journeys, Roman soldiers were always well-fed and well-armed. Unlike other armies of the time, which faced great difficulties when far from home, Rome had a robust supply system that included depots and the construction of camps along the way. Moreover, the Romans were masters at efficiently using the resources of conquered lands, ensuring that nothing was wasted. Even after temporary defeats, the Roman army recovered quickly, as there were always enough resources to sustain its campaigns. This ability to manage resources and logistics allowed the Roman army to remain strong and adaptable, regardless of adverse conditions. With such an efficient organization, the Romans could maintain an army on campaign for much longer than any other empire of the time, an advantage that other armies could not replicate. Fifth, the ability to gather resources. Rome had a unique ability to gather resources. While other armies struggled to finance their campaigns or even to keep their soldiers fed for long periods, Rome could assemble large amounts of money, manpower, and supplies from all parts of its empire. Rome's wealth, derived from its vast conquests and control of trade routes, gave the Roman army a fighting power far beyond its number of soldiers. This ability to mobilize and manage resources was essential to sustaining the army on endless campaigns. Even in difficult times, Rome managed to keep its military force supplied and prepared. The combination of wealth, infrastructure, and a well-organized supply system allowed Rome to continue expanding and fighting, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Sixth, a system of recruitment and a military career. The Roman army was composed of professional soldiers. This made all the difference in their campaigns. Instead of relying on temporary recruits, Rome maintained a permanent and highly trained force, which allowed the army to be more effective and adaptable. This professionalism ensured that the Romans were specialists in various aspects of war, not just in physical combat, but also in complex tactics and military engineering. A clear example of this occurred during the siege of Alesia in 52 BC in Gaul, when Julius Caesar faced Vercingetorix. The Roman army, with its well-trained legions, not only surrounded the city with an impressive wall, but also built a second series of fortifications around it to prevent any escape attempt or reinforcement. The Roman skill in siege engineering, a result of the soldiers' continuous training, was fundamental to the success of this battle. The dedication and experience of the Roman soldiers also stood out in other aspects, such as on long journeys or in organizing supplies. They knew how to move quickly and effectively, regardless of the difficulties. This was all because Rome knew how to create a solid military career, where soldiers were constantly prepared for any type of challenge, both on the battlefield and in logistics. Seventh, a capacity for innovation and adaptation. The Romans were not content to follow old tactics or armaments. They were always ready to learn and incorporate whatever was necessary to ensure victory. This ability to adapt was evident in many battles, but perhaps none better exemplifies the Roman innovative spirit than the Battle of Cannae in 216 BC, during the Second Punic War. In the battle, the Carthaginian commander Hannibal defeated the Roman army in a devastating manner. However, instead of giving up or sticking to outdated tactics, the Romans learned from their mistake and adapted. They reorganized their legions, developed new combat strategies, and sought reinforcements with the goal of facing Hannibal under more favorable conditions. This ability to learn from defeat and adjust tactics was fundamental to the Roman victory in subsequent battles. The Romans were also willing to adopt new weapons and technologies, like the famous pilum, and also to master complex military formations. This flexibility on the battlefield, combined with a constant desire for improvement, gave Rome a crucial advantage that other armies could not replicate. Eighth, the integration of engineering and siege tactics. Roman military engineering was one of the most advanced of its time, allowing the Roman army to excel in sieges and the construction of fortifications. Rome knew it was not enough to be strong in hand-to-hand combat. It needed to master the art of taking and holding cities. A clear example of this occurred during the siege of Carthage in the Third Punic War, where the Romans used their engineering skills to isolate the city and crush any attempt at resistance. The Romans built enormous walls around Carthage, in addition to using siege engines like catapults and battering rams to bring down the enemy's defenses. To ensure control of the supply lines, they also created a complex system of fortifications and trenches that prevented any escape or arrival of reinforcements. This level of planning and logistical organization not only guaranteed victory but also made Roman forces unbeatable in siege situations. Furthermore, the Romans knew that building roads and bridges was essential to keep the army moving, and their vast road system facilitated the mobility of their legions, allowing for a rapid response to any threat. Ninth, the ability to govern expanded territories. Rome's ability to govern the vast territories it conquered was one of the greatest differentiators of its empire. They were not just masters of conquest, but also experts in administration. While other armies advanced and conquered new lands, Rome knew that the true key to power lay in the ability to maintain control over those lands and their resources. A striking example of this occurred during the conquest of Gaul by Julius Caesar. After the victory at Alesia, Rome not only defeated the Gauls but also worked to integrate these regions into the Republic and later, the Empire. Caesar established Roman colonies, built infrastructure like roads and cities, and ensured that the local populations benefited from the peace and order brought by the Republic. He knew that without effective administration, military victories would be in vain. This ability to govern efficiently allowed Rome to expand its republic and empire for centuries. While other armies that conquered new lands but did not know how to administer them failed to maintain control, Rome's ability to manage vast territories and different cultures was essential to its longevity. And 10th and final, morale and collective identity. The Roman army was not just a war machine, but a force united by a strong sense of collective identity. During the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest in the year 9 AD, where 3 Roman legions were destroyed by Germanic tribes, the Roman spirit was put to the test. Even after this devastating defeat, the Romans did not surrender. Instead of crumbling, the empire restructured itself, learned from the defeat, and later sent punitive expeditions to ensure that the Roman legacy remained intact. The spirit of unity and loyalty to Roman ideals was what allowed the Romans to recover, learn, and move forward with even more determination. This sense of shared identity, this relentless morale, was what kept the Roman army motivated even in the most difficult battles. And those were some of the reasons why no army or empire managed to replicate the Roman military model. So, if you like this video, I'll leave another video suggestion for you to watch on the side. And don't forget to leave your like and also to subscribe to our channel because it helps a lot. So, we'll see you in the next video.